Hey, hey everyone. I hope everybody's missed me because last week I wasn't here. But we are gonna start the meeting probably at like 7:37 just to give everybody a few more minutes to make it. Hello, Chloe. I'm happy to see you. I missed my little break last week from you guys. But we're gonna be talking about surviving the holidays part two, setting stronger boundaries and reflecting on how far you have come. Thank you, everybody who's here. We're just gonna give it like 3 more minutes, 7:37, just so everybody can join on, and then we will start. Okay, we're gonna start the meeting. Disregard my voice. I am getting over a little cold. I did go to Nashville and it was super fun. So, yeah. We're going to be talking about surviving the holidays. This is the second part. We went over last week, surviving the holidays part one. So this is now the second part. And we're going to be talking about setting stronger boundaries and reflecting on how far that each and one of us have come. Next slide, please, Miss Sophia. Sometimes the holidays bring up weird feelings that we don't know how to really explain or put into rational until it comes time. So like sometimes the holiday brings up the old version of yourself, whether it's like toxic traits or toxic feelings that you had that you pushed away. Um, so it's very understandable to get these old versions or habits or old expectations of who you were and not who you are becoming. So we need to remember who you are becoming, and you are not who you were, and you need to focus on doing whatever you can to reset yourself in your brain, saying like that's the old me. The old me would have handled that situation X, Y, and Z, or the old me would have been expected to do X, Y, and Z. The new me, I'm not going to partake in that. I'm going to be better for myself and have better expectations for myself. Just because it's familiar with you doesn't mean that you have to return back to it. So, any feelings that are familiar or any old habits that are familiar does not mean that it is totally great to have those and totally expected for you to be that. Next slide, please. So, growth can feel very uncomfortable. Growing as a person, whether it's going from When you're growing as a person, especially in these teen years and especially as you become older as well, it's very uncomfortable. It can feel wrong or it can feel very uneasy at first, but we need to understand that we have to keep pushing to become who we want to be. So signs that you've grown this year is maybe you don't react to the same way anymore. So maybe in the past you would have reacted negatively to a situation and now you're taking a step back, understanding how you used to act and making sure that you don't follow in the same cycle and the same old behaviors that you are not happy with. Um, you need more peace than approval. That is really a great sign that you've grown. When you crave peace in who you are rather than approval of others, that's how you know that you're on the right steps of becoming who you are and who you want to become. Because we don't need anybody else's approval of who we are except for ourselves. You choose silence over arguing. This is a really big one, especially during the holidays. A lot of emotions are high during the holidays. A lot of people are stressed, a lot of people are overwhelmed, and so it's really easy to start those uncomfortable fights. But instead of choosing to fight, or if you don't like something that somebody says, if you take a step back and understand, hey, maybe they're really stressed, or I don't like the way that person spoke to me. But instead of sitting and arguing with them because maybe they won't understand where I'm coming from, we can choose to be silent and understand that that person crossed a boundary and maybe approach the situation later when somebody's not overwhelmed or when other things aren't going on. And it allows you to take that silence, understand and process what is going on and understand more about the situation and also like give you an opportunity to speak to that person, maybe pull them aside a little bit later and say, "Hey, I really don't like that." Um, you notice red flags faster. By choosing silencing a silence over arguing, you're able to understand red flags and you're able to understand like, hey, that was not okay, that crossed my boundary. Maybe they don't know that. Maybe there's a lot of other things going on for them, but you don't appreciate the way that they treated you. You notice that, hey, that's a red flag in that person. I don't really like that personality trait, or I don't really like that that person acted like that. So let me take a step and understand that these red flags and understand should they be in my life or not. And you also protect your energy. So protecting your energy is very important. You have to protect who you are and who you are becoming. And protecting your energy is not wasting time on arguing with somebody who's not going to understand your point. And maybe it's taking a step back and saying, I'm going to have a meaningful conversation with this person outside of the situation that we're going on right now and understand how your energy might be that you have to cut off this person that you've known forever because they do not respect you or they aren't respecting who you're becoming. So yeah, growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like walking away. I love that. I love that. When people test your boundaries. Okay. During the holidays, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. If you don't understand, like everybody gets overwhelmed, especially during the holidays. It's a high stress time where everybody's stressed to get food ready or make sure that everybody's happy or make sure that they're like accommodating to everybody else and being the best host they could be. So it's really easy to get really stressed out. And you have to realize that, some people may push old buttons that you didn't realize will still hurt you. They also may make comments about who you were and not who you're becoming. And they also might ignore some boundaries that you have set with yourself as this new person that you're becoming. And you have to understand that the holidays and the stress of it just bring this out in people. And you need to respect who you are and your own boundaries and understand that maybe this is not a reflection of who they are and how they think about you. But it also establishes a boundary that you have within yourself. And that's like an opportunity of growth that you understand that somebody had crossed your boundary. And it leads you to have meaningful conversations with these people after the situation, letting them know how they've crossed your boundaries, letting them know that it's not okay that they spoke to you in a certain way or pushed old buttons or made comments about your past. And you don't have to shrink to make other people feel comfortable. Be who you are loudly and don't expect other people to love who you're becoming. As long as you love who you're becoming, that's all that matters. Upgrading your boundaries. So, boundaries are not about all actions. Oh, sorry. Boundaries are not all about your actions, but they are. But they're also about not controlling other people. So boundaries are about how you treat yourself, how other people should treat yourself, how people should speak to you, how other people should not speak to you. Boundaries are easy things that we can all come up with that, explain who you are and explain what you do and do not like about other people doing to you. Boundaries are set feelings within ourselves. So you'll know when somebody crosses a boundary with you because it will make you feel not good about yourself or make you feel like you don't want to hang around that person. And it is okay to have boundaries, and it's okay to have boundaries that are not the same from everybody else because we're all different people. We all have different boundaries. We all have different expectations of how people should treat us and how we should treat others. So, we're going to talk about the different levels of upgrading your boundaries. Level one, explaining yourself. So, you do not have to explain yourself to anybody. If you feel like your boundary is crossed, you're allowed to feel that and you're allowed to think like, "Oh, that definitely crossed my boundary and I do not like that." So, one thing that you could say if somebody was like, "Oh, like brought up your past and you don't want it to be brought up," you could say, "I'm not talking about that." Level two, stating your boundary. Stating our boundaries help other people realize what is okay and what is not okay when it comes to us. So by stating your boundary, you could say, I said no. No, I'm not talking about that. I said no. Please leave it alone. And these are easy ways. We don't have to get defensive. We could just say this as nicely as we can. We don't have to be rude about this situation, but we just have to know what crosses our boundaries and how to stand up for yourself and your boundaries. And level three, removing yourself. Sometimes the best thing that you could ever do is remove yourself from a situation. Instead of sitting there and arguing about why something crosses your boundary or why you don't like something, removing yourself by leaving the room, it changes the subject. It leaves you keeping your peace and it leaves everybody else from continuing to harm you or continuing to cross your boundaries. So one thing I want to do is I want to ask everybody, um, what is one thing that they think that they could do, if you could leave it in the chat, about how this holiday season that you're going to upgrade your boundaries. So everybody just put one thing in the chat about how you're personally upgrading your boundaries. One of them for me is I'm definitely a people pleaser. And so I need to set my boundaries in that aspect because when I'm asked to do like eight different things, like cook the potatoes or put away the gifts or set the table, I tend to say yes to all of that instead of taking a second for myself and understanding that I'm starting to get overwhelmed by all the tasks that are thrown out at me. So I could take a step back and understand, like, okay, all these tasks are being handed to me. Let me ask for help, or let me state my boundary and say, actually, I can't do that, or I could do that later, or if you give me a second, and just give myself some peace and some more time to enjoy the holiday and not stress myself out. So, if everybody, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to put something in the chat, and then I will read them out. Yes, thank you everybody for putting stuff in the chat. I definitely think that, we have to take a second, not raise our voice, and understand that everybody's stressed during the holidays or everybody's overwhelmed, trying to make sure that everybody else has a good holiday. So by taking a second and understanding, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't raise my voice, maybe I shouldn't speak in that tone, really sets the mood. Also, knowing your worth is very important in any situation. So by knowing that your worth, that you're worthy more than what people are doing, like disrespecting your boundaries, knowing that you're better than that and stepping away from the situation is great, or even speaking up by setting your boundaries by saying no. Using your D&D, yes. The holidays are for family and friends and everybody that we have important in our lives. So using D&D is a great way to step away from social media and really reflect and really be grateful for this time with our family and friends. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Letting go of guilt. So it is really easy during the holidays to get overwhelmed, like I've been saying, but it's really easy to do it. And so normally during the holidays, it's we feel a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt that goes with the holidays, such as maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I'm being too rude, or I should just deal with it. I don't want to upset anybody. The truth is that everybody feels this guilt of maybe that they're not setting their expectations as everybody else, like that they're not following how everybody else wants them to be. But by saying no and setting your boundary, it isn't mean. It's your own boundary. You're allowed to have these boundaries. They're what's okay with you and how you're going to live your life. So saying no is not mean. It actually gives you your self-worth, and setting boundaries for other people to not cross. Choosing peace and to be peaceful and to have peace within your own head is not selfish. It is a sign of growth and it is a sign of who you are becoming. And growth doesn't require permission. You don't need anybody's permission by setting these boundaries and expectations of how people should treat you and how you should treat yourself. So, reflecting on your growth this year, it's really important that coming into this new year that we understand how we've grown as people. Maybe our boundaries have changed, maybe we've changed as a person, maybe we're becoming who we are meant to be becoming. So, we need to all be understanding of who we are and we need to reflect on this. Maybe the positives that we do, the negatives, and everything in between. So, maybe this year we should reflect on how you've handled situations differently. So, how in the past you would have handled the situation and now how you handle it. What you've learned about yourselves. We're all growing as people. Different situations grow us as people. Different opportunities grow us as different people. So, what have you learned about yourself? What do you like now? What do you not like now? Maybe your boundaries have changed. what you've what you have survived and earned. These are very, very important because it's hard to understand, like maybe I haven't done so much growth, but look at all the situations I handled and how I survived them. Or look at my accomplishments. Like I didn't think I was going to be able to do that last year and now I did that. And then it's also great to understand what you no longer tolerate. Maybe in the past I would let somebody disrespect me, but now this year I don't let them do that and I set my boundaries. So the prompt question I kind of want to give you guys to think about is what would the version of me from last January say about me now? So take a second to think about how you've grown. Maybe use one of these different bullet points to understand how you've grown differently and go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll read them out. The version of me on last January of 2025, moving into this year, um, my dad had passed away in February, and obviously it was so devastating for me to be 21 without my father, but it was definitely a survival moment that I was able to push through all the guilt and all the sadness and understanding how to be there for my family while also respecting my own boundaries and grieving, all while being a full-time student, uh, a part-time employee. These were all so many things that I didn't think that I was going to be able to survive. I thought I was going to crumble. So I'm definitely giving myself a pat on the back this year that I've definitely grown as a person, that I know that I'm worthy and I know that I can push through situations that are unimaginable. So what comes to me is my resilience over January. So now I know that I'm becoming a woman, more of a woman than I was before, and I'm very grateful for that. So everybody else put in the chat and then I'll read them out.
Well, I'm not gonna put mine on chat, but I'll go. So I feel like I've grown a lot with not explaining myself and letting my nose just be no and not explain to anybody because I'm like you, I'm kind of like trying to be a people pleaser all the time. And so I used to have a really big issue of like saying no, I can't do this because such and such, or like giving an explanation. Like if they say, "Well, here you come get me," I'm always like trying to find a way to like put it in my schedule to do it, and not like realizing I have boundaries with myself and I have like mental health and stuff that I need to like take a break for myself. And I've grown so much to like now I'm just like, okay, no, I can't do it without like explaining.
Yes, 100%. We don't owe anybody an explanation. People pleasing is definitely my thing. I just feel so guilty saying no, but I realize that it's just stressing me out and making me uncomfortable and crossing my boundaries. So definitely by not having to explain myself and just going with how I feel with it has definitely helped me as well. And I'm proud that you have learned this about yourself.
I'll go. I will most definitely say that this year has tested a lot of boundary issues. I will say that I am very proud how if I got to the point where if I do not want to talk to a person, I just will not talk to them no matter what the case may be. A lot of people will guilt trip you or try to make you feel bad about not communicating with them when you're just overly or mentally drained. So I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of this year is just not owing everybody an explanation or not just responding back when I don't have that energy.
I love that. I love to hear that. We don't owe anybody else our energy, protect our energy. Also, I want to acknowledge Chloe's being able to continue to be a leader while going through so many ups and downs with friendships. Now, you could care less if you're around a group of friends now. Yes, we definitely need to understand who our quality friends are over quantity of friends. It's very important to keep our boundaries with people and understand that we do not need to please other people. Also, Nana, getting better at communicating because you're not in the best state of mind right now, but you want to get better at that. You know what? A moment of growth. That is great that you can understand that maybe your communication is lacking, but that you actively want to make a decision to become better at personal growth and asking for more things that you need to communicate. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. So activity then versus now. So then this is like earlier this year. So we're gonna start this off by like you say, well, earlier this year I struggled with, I felt with, and then now, the end of the year, how you've learned, you're proud of, I now. So I'll start off with this activity. Then I used to maybe not communicate how I was feeling and push so much on myself and on my plate, and it would overwhelm me. But now I've learned to prioritize myself and to not have to water all my plants, that I can just focus on myself, water what I need to water, and if it's not benefiting me, if it's not making me feel good about myself, or if it's not helping me in any way, I've decided to like let it go and understand that I don't have to water everybody's flowers, that I just need to water my own. So if everybody wants to take a second to either speak it of then and now or write it in the chat, feel free. And yeah. Does anybody? Oh, thank you, Nana. So earlier this year, I used to struggle with wanting a friend group, but everybody was weird. But this year, I learned to keep my circle small and focus on my grades. You know what? That is a great self-reflection. We don't have to people please everybody. We don't have to be there for everyone, especially if it's not reciprocated. We have to understand quality of friends over quantity. And it's great that you're able to focus on yourself and focus on your grades and the people who truly want to be there for you and help you out. Thank you, Chloe, for your response earlier this year. I used to be really bad at communicating with my mom, but now you feel comfortable with talking and ask her about things. Yes, it's really hard. I still find it hard sometimes to ask my mom for help or talk to her about how I'm feeling. But the older we grow, the more that we're able to realize that our parents only want the best for us. And it does become easier to talk to them about things. And if you guys ever need to talk about anything, we're always here too, me and Sophia. So thank you for sharing. Next slide, please. Honoring your strength. So we have to remember how much we've come from last year to this year and all the years before that and all the years to come. So I want to take a moment to have you guys understand the ways that you guys have grown. So we have to speak kindly to ourselves. We have to be grateful of the ways that we've grown as people. So speak kindly to yourself because you have to live with yourself for the rest of your life. So by negatively talking yourself, it only puts you down, and we don't want to put ourselves down. We love ourselves. We want to grow as people. We're doing the best that we can. So speak kindly to yourself. Stop minimizing what you've been through. We've all been through so many different things in this world, and it creates who we are as people. So honor what you've come from, honor your strength that you keep pushing, and don't compare what you've been through to what other people have been through because comparison is a thief and it steals your joy, and don't do that. Rest without guilt. Go to bed every single night knowing that you're the best person that you can be and that you're continuing to grow. Do not feel guilty for the things that you cannot control. And even if you felt like you can control them, do not live in guilt because we have so many life to live, and so much more life to live, and so many decisions that we might make that we might not feel good about. But just know that you're going where you're supposed to go. Celebrate the small wins, whether they're big wins or small wins. It's very important that we celebrate everything that comes to us, whether we know it or not. These small wins could end up being bigger ones, and these big wins are where we're supposed to be. Give yourself credit. A lot of people don't give themselves credit enough. We're all human, we're all guilty of it, but you need to give yourself more credit, especially coming into this new year. We should come in with positive mindsets, positive talk, self-talk to ourselves. Understand that, we work for everything that what we have, and we need to be grateful and give ourselves credit. And you are not the same person you were, and that's something that you should be very proud of. Setting intentions for the holidays and the New Year's. So instead of New Year's resolutions, which everybody always says, like, oh, what's going to be your New Year's resolution? What are you going to accomplish? Maybe we should ask, how do I want to feel? So this kind of means like, how do you want to feel coming into the new year? Like, how do we want to make ourselves the best people that we could be? What kind of energy do I want surrounding myself? Do we want positive energy from like friends, families? What boundaries do we want to accept from other people or set for ourselves? What am I protecting moving forward? So, protecting your peace is a really great one. Protecting your mindset, protecting who you are as a person. These are great resolutions that we could ask ourselves that we want to feel in the next year instead of pressuring ourselves of five different goals that we want to accomplish and maybe not accomplishing them and feeling better about ourselves. So instead, examples that we could do is maybe in the next year, I want to feel more peace. In the next year, I want to be more confident in who I am. In the next year, I want to feel more balanced. In the next year, I want to respect myself more and build on my self-respect. Next slide, please. So the holiday season, you don't owe anyone the old version of yourself. Protect your peace, honor who you are and the growth that you have continued to make for yourself, and just always know that you have come so far, and I don't want anybody to ever forget that. I think that is the last slide. Yes, that's the last slide. So I want to say thank you all for coming. Um, I just want everybody to know that the holiday season is a very stressful time, but we need to protect our peace, set our boundaries, and bring in this new year with a mindset that we don't want to change. And, expanding our boundaries, expanding our positive mindset, our positive expectations of what we expect ourselves to do, our intuition and our manifestations. And yeah, so I will see you all next Monday.